Hey y'all, I am Victory. I help provide insight to empower, and today I wanted to talk about money wounds and a practical guide in how to heal money wounds, and really just an exercise that you can then cross-apply into different areas of your life. So when we talk about money wounds, we talk about beliefs and a whole belief system, a filter through which we see the world and engage, interface, and play in it. So some of my money wounds were that money is the root of all evil, rich people are dicks, eat the rich, feed the poor, eat the rich. A lot of different things that unconsciously kept me from moving into greater states of security, stability, and comfort. Security, stability, and comfort. A lot of people have, once they get into the trauma field, start asking, what is the opposite of trauma? How do we heal trauma? Well, trauma is or wounds, or whatever. Trauma is the disconnection from safety, stability, security. So what is the opposite then? The opposite is play. For one to play, we need inherently safety, stability, and security. And that's something that money can facilitate. So really, when I say healing money wounds, we're just talking about getting into a momentum, creating, establishing, and then building momentum mentally and emotionally or energetically to inject or plant the seed of that experience in our body, somatically. So when I say establish and create or build momentum, it's really just about, okay, what does safety, security, and play feel like in my body? Where do I feel that? When I feel secure, when I feel a sense of play, what tangential thoughts and emotions does that spark, and where does that resonate in my body? For a lot of people, universally speaking, there's a source where deep laughter comes from, and that's usually below the belly button and right in the heart of our belly, right around the belly button area. So that's something that I can be mindful of and sit with and sit in. So when I say sit in and create momentum, things that can obstruct that or dilute that are the thoughts and emotions that come up as a form of resistance, as a form of voicing the resistance that we carry. So if I have these belief systems that limit how much money I can comfortably hold, how much money my nervous system is able to comfortably hold, what's going to inhibit that are the forms, and I mean energetic, emotional, and thought forms that I'm holding on to. And I know these exist because of those, one, because of how much money I'm making, and two, because of how I feel around people who are, let's say, doing better than me, or like financially. When, Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg, Oprah, what's the nerdy guy? Bill Gates, Melinda Gates. Sure, there are people doing shady things who have a lot of money and who've gotten a lot of money doing shady things. But that should never stop us from making money, let's say, like the right way or the light way or the ethical way or the playful and cooperative way. Because if, let's say, I had a lot of angst or resistance towards capitalism, it's easy to, I feel like for me, it was easy to go down that path because of one of my own issues with authority, like my parents, my own issues around not getting what I wanted as a kid, and like the resentment that formed, that accumulated over time around money. So it might have also connected to my parents or rich people or politicians or capitalists or douchebag traders and hedge fund people. But there are also a lot of good people, and this is how I know I still have my own shit about like rich people and money, is because when I say there are good people who have a lot of money right now, there's a feeling, I can feel it in my body. I can call it resistance. I can call it disgust or repulsion or whatever, but it's my job to sit with that feeling, and in sitting with it I can feel it dissolve. So it might be true that a lot of shitty people exist who have done shitty things to make a lot of money, who have and are exploiting people, like Nike exploits the shit out of people in China and like Vietnam, and all these major brands, to make the most amount of money, have to exploit a lot of people. And they don't have to, but they do. They choose to because it's the path of least resistance. And I think for me personally, one of my biggest obstacles is in confronting the part of me, one, right here, right now, making under 100K a year. It's easy for me to judge someone else who is exploiting people in third world countries for labor, for cheap labor. Even like here in America, I do HVAC, and when I go to work on, let's say, like ice machines in kitchens, there's so many Mexicans in the kitchen, and I'm Mexican, so that brings up some stuff. And that's my shit to deal with, like to sit with and sort out within myself. Because they're like, there is stuff that comes up around, the managers are always like white people, and the owners are always white people. And I don't want to say always, because there's been times when I was surprised because they weren't. There were people of color. And there were people of color who were also in managerial positions, but it's still something that's rare, at least in my eyes, because that's also it's also true, but it's also a belief that I'm holding, an expectation that I'm holding. So in a way, I'm also putting myself in the position to witness and verify my own biases, which is the sort of bigger picture work, and also around money that there is to do. In work in general, but also around money. So when I sit with, bringing it back, when I sit with, let's say, the desire for more money, I can ask myself, starting at step 1, okay, I want more money. Step 2, why? And this is key here to getting our nervous system to open up, because if I believe that only bad people have a lot of money, well, I don't want to be a bad person. So I'm going to protect, self-sabotage, I'm going to protect myself from what I want. And this happens so much, and in dating, holy shit, it's such a point of frustration at this moment. But I'm going to protect myself from what I want if my nervous system doesn't feel safe having it. If you want to boil it down to a saying, we can say, I can have what I can hold. Right? If I'm going into like a dungeon or a dragon's cave, or where there's a lot of gold, I can walk out with how much I can carry, how much I can hold. But if I'm already holding on to things, let's say I walk into this cave and it's filled with loot, with everything I want in life, but I'm holding on to these beliefs, well, I'm going to have to let them go to trade, right? I'm going to exchange a belief, this sort of like mental, emotional energy. I'm going to exchange that for something that I want. And it's going to hurt to let go equally as much as how strongly or how tightly we're holding on to it. That's how much it's going to hurt to let go. So if it's very fixed in my identity as a human being, as a person, if I believe rich people are evil or the enemy, it's going to hurt a lot, because I have to let go or open up part of my identity to something else. Part of like my mind has to open up in a way where it's been like closed very tightly. Because let's say I do want to make more money, or you want to make more money to provide more security for yourself, for your loved ones, more stability. Well, what brings more security and stability than our identity? If I had no identity, that's when, like, if you've ever done psychedelics, when there's this part, if you take enough or you're in the right space, you kind of just let go of your identity and all the things that you've been holding on to. And so it's a very scary experience, because it's called ego death. Ego death, or like the death of your identity. But when we go through that experience, or even like without going that far or that deep, when we get primed or get put into a position in life where it's time for our identity to change, that's usually a very scary or exciting experience. It's usually a bigger part of life. And when we can't let go of these things, let's say a person who loves sweets because that's where they get security, comfort, stability from, and maybe they're not aware, or they are aware and they just don't want to let it go, well, then that's the thing that gives them diabetes. And they get that diagnosis and their attachment to it is still stronger than their willingness to change, to let that part of their identity open up, or die a little bit, open up and change, really. Because what is death is just like non-growth, non-continuity. So they're kind of choosing non-continuity because of that feeling of security, stability, play. Maybe there's like a attachment to their childhood or whatever. Not to gloss over it, but that's usually where the root is. So if they can't let that go, well, then they get that diagnosis and they still go on with their ways. And that's when a foot kind of falls off a little bit. Shouldn't joke about that, but I had a lot of family who's diabetic. But the same thing with like smoking, cancer, or drinking and liver disease. A lot of foods and heart disease, right? Our body's telling us something's wrong and we're not really paying attention, or we just like don't think about it, choose not to. I know coffee's telling me some stuff, but I still drink coffee. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to judge. But it really is possible to create a life where we have a lot of security, abundance, play, love, and joy. But there are so many things in the way, like just from our childhood, that keep us, that protect us, that sabotage us from getting there. I know suffering and martyrdom is really big in my culture, so that's something that I'm working through and changing. Right, when there's this thing called a transitional character, and that's somebody in like a family's line who was born into that momentum of programs, of trauma, of certain beliefs, good or bad, and they see like, okay, I see the effect that this is having on me, on my loved ones, and I'm gonna make a change. The buck stops here. My children, my nieces and nephews, I'm gonna be a force for good, an impact for good, for change in our lives, in my life, so that we're not going to repeat the cycles of trauma, or like perpetuate or carry on the limiting beliefs or erroneous, corrupt belief systems, programs, into future generations. So the exercise or the practice, if you stuck around this part, is one, to plant the seed. Two, to observe where we resist and acknowledge that these things forms of resistance, these voices of resistance, may have been helpful in the past to keep us safe, but maybe we don't need them anymore. So we can choose or invite ourselves to let them go. And then, very important, in choosing to let them go, what we're also doing mindfully, and this is where the momentum starts to build, is in holding that belief gently, lightly, holding it, that we're allowed to fill in the blank, make more money, feel a greater sense of overall wellness, mental health, stability, play, love, pleasure, that we can get through our suffering with greater ease. Pick your poison here. Pick your pick your antidote, I should say. Pick your potion. Pick your potion. And really mindfully but gently observing how that feels in your body. How does it feel for your nervous system to come into a place in life of greater stability, of greater wellness, of greater security? Because making more money or having great relationships or a great relationships is a symptom. It is a sign a product and a fruit of our labor. It's a natural byproduct, really, that we are well and stable within, that our nervous system can hold these things. Put this down. So at this time, I'll invite you to take a few deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. What does it feel like for my nervous system to let go of some of the things that I'm holding on to that are weighing me down? What new and wonderful things does this open me up to? If there's anxiety, can some of that anxiety actually be excitement, thrill, joy? accept and acknowledge that having a good life, a rich life, doesn't mean easy or complacent. Rather, for better or worse, in good times and in bad, I can be fully immersed and engaged with life. That the best things in life and be handling the worst parts to the best of my ability come when I am fully engaged and present with what's going on. Because when I am fully present, I can be fully aware of all the possibilities that are available and all the help and support that is available. And when resistance comes up, I can acknowledge it. I can accept that resistance once tried to help me. So I can be grateful and let it go.